Hello and welcome to Quimbee CLE. My name is Jillian Kuhl, and I'm a program attorney here at Quimbee. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming attorney Colleen Quinn, who will be speaking with us today about assisted reproductive technology law, or ART law. Colleen is the owner of Quinn Law Centers, including the Adoption and Surrogacy Law Center. Her practice centers on employment law, personal injury, family formation law, both adoption and surrogacy, and estate planning. Colleen is the co-author of the Virginia Adoption Procedures and Forms book, produced by Virginia CLE, which includes a chapter on Virginia ART law written by Colleen. She regularly teaches courses on assisted reproductive technology law and contract drafting, so we could not have found a more qualified presenter today, and we are so happy to have you here with us. Welcome, Colleen.
Thank you, Jillian. I'm so happy to be here.
Great. So, Colleen, why don't you go ahead and just give us a little bit of an overview of what we plan to cover today?
Great. So, Jillian, assisted reproductive technology law, which we fondly call ART law, as you referenced, it's not something we hang on the wall, but it has a lot of acronyms. So one of the things that we will cover is the terminology and the different types of ART that are used in this area of the law. We're also going to cover the prerequisites prior to contract drafting. Then we're going to talk about contract drafting basics and important provisions to include in all of the ART contracts. We're going to address some of the more important legal issues, such as abortion and selective reduction provisions, choice of law and conflict of law issues, and also even divorce and frozen embryos. And we're also going to look at some unique issues, like some issues unique to international intended parents, single parents, same-sex couples, and unmarried couples as well. So I'm excited to dive on in.
Great.
So one thing that folks need to know, and this is one reason why I absolutely love this area of the law, is that ART law is a constantly evolving area of the law. So you really have to stay on top of some of the medical aspects. It's most closely tied to adoption law because we're helping people have children and build their families. But it's more largely rooted in contract law, which is why a lot of the presentation is going to be discussing contract terms. And, people tend to utilize ART or adoption due to infertility issues in many ways. And their goal is to have a child or children to parent. They've often undergone a lot of unsuccessful attempts to get pregnant. They might have viable eggs. They might have gestational ability. The dads might have viable sperm, but things just aren't working out for them. A lot of them have spent a lot of money on infertility treatments. Some of them have really undergone a lot of hardship, various miscarriages. And so it's it's an area of the law where you can really feel like you can help people in their family building, and it's a rewarding area of the law in that regard. But you're also dealing with people that oftentimes are fragile in some ways. So it's an area where we have to be very compassionate too. And then, of course, there are lots of frozen embryos in storage now that aren't going to be used by their owners. And so we're seeing folks that are doing embryo donation agreements and then redonations, et cetera. So it gets complicated in certain areas of the law. When we look at the number of embryos that are in storage, they really don't fully know. We anticipate there's at least 1 million, if not more, embryos now in storage. It's really hard to get good data and good numbers, but the more embryos that keep getting created, the more excess embryos there tend to be. And all of these embryos, in some ways, they'd like to find a womb somewhere. We'd like to find a womb for them. So when we talk about the world of family creation options, there are a lot of different combinations that can be put together. So a couple could use donor egg, and they can choose for it to be known, like they can pick the woman and have the eggs retrieved from her, or they can decide to go anonymously through a cryobank. And they can also now purchase bank eggs that are already in storage, which tends to be less expensive than picking a live donor who you have to retrieve from. Also, most historically, the use of donor sperm has been used, and traditionally more anonymously used through cryobanks, but we're seeing a lot of known donor agreements as well. I mentioned already the donated embryo situation. Again, that could be known or it could be anonymous. Anonymous ones are a little trickier. And then, of course, there's the use of a gestational carrier. or a traditional surrogate. And so a gestational carrier can be used, and she might carry intended mom's egg and donor sperm, or intended mom's egg and intended dad's sperm, an embryo created from both intended parents. Or she might carry an embryo that has donor egg and intended dad's sperm, or she might carry a donated embryo that has no connection to the intended parents. And then traditional surrogates, they are ones that actually are genetic parents themselves. So a traditional or true surrogate would use their own egg, and that could be with the intended dad's sperm or with donor sperm as well. So we have a lot of these different combinations that are going on at any given period of time.